Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name's Melissa and this is Melissa Knits for Fun. This week we're gonna get right into it because I've got some finished objects to talk about, and I'm gonna start with the small one first and then we'll get into the big beautiful one. So I have these penny gloves. These are penny gloves by PetiteKnit. And if you watched my Whips Everywhere episode, you'll know that I've been working on these for a while. They've been languishing, but I decided this week it would be a good time to get them off. I was almost done. I just needed to do this part right here and then the thumb. And if you look closely, you'll see there's a little bit of color variation right there because I ran out of Lucia, which is the fluffy yarn by Holst Garn. This was knit in Holst Garn, Lucia, and Coast held double. I've got a little end sticking out. I did sew them in, but I didn't cut them very short. So this is Coast and Lucia held together. And this is just left over from my Black Monday sweater that I made. It is luscious. And so I decided, hey, I am going to make penny gloves to go with every sweater I have. I'll make it out of the scraps from the sweater project. Well, I didn't have quite enough here, but I will tell you the same thing about noticing this is if you notice something under my arm, if you were that close to notice it, you are too close and you are in my personal space. So there is that. I'm the only one that's going to see it because probably the only time I'm ever going to wear these is when I'm in the car. I just really want something. It gets really cold here in the winter and the cars are really cold, and I do have a remote start and can warm it up, but it's still really cold. That steering wheel can be cold because I have an older car, so I do not have the fancy heated steering wheel. So it gets pretty cold. So I decided I need these, and probably the only place I'll ever wear them is in my car, so I'm the only one that's ever going to see them, so not too worried about that. I do really like the length of these, and I did keep track. I was pretty good this time because I shared with you last time that the other pair I made, which was made out of, I think it was Essayer Alpaca 1, held double. One of them is not quite this long, but the other one's like that short, right? So I've got one that just barely covers my watch and one that goes up the arm because I didn't keep track of it. In her pattern, she does not give you a row count. She gives you centimeters. Well, I decided it looked right. It did not. So this time, whenever I made these, which is my second pair, I decided to keep track. And I did 45 rows before I started the thumb gusset. And then I did 20 rows after the thumb gusset. And then I have no idea how many I did for the thumb because I forgot to keep track of it. I'll try to keep track of it on the next one. But I just kind of compared them. I don't think I got it exactly right, but it doesn't really matter that much. This is a great little pattern. It knits up really, really quick. It does call for, I think the suggested yarn is Phil Kalana's alpaca to hold double. It's that really thin lace weight. There's several yarns you could use with it. I'm going to, just use whatever I've got left over from my sweaters, but Holst Garn alpaca, the Titicaca held double, that would work. As I said, Essayer Alpaca 1 held double. Any kind of combination that you want to reach the gauge would be perfectly fine. And they're your gloves. So if you like the fabric, then knit it. Now, for the star of the show, I got my test knit done, my Janeloudi. I'm fixing to cover my face up completely to try to show you this. Here it is. Isn't she a beauty? I will put pictures whichever place that I can find. I may even put one on each side, one of me before blocking the sleeves and one after blocking the sleeves because the sleeves did relax and they grew a little bit. But I will definitely put one of the after blocking. We'll see if I can fit two up here. But oh my gosh, I cannot wait for it to get cold enough to wear. It is absolutely stunning. This is a test knit. It is going to be released. The date that is out there that I was told it will be released that's out there on the test details is August the 22nd. So guys, that's coming up pretty quick. That's what, 15 days from now. So be on the lookout for that. And the designer of this is named Kirsten-Michele. And she does have a hyphen in her name. So if you're looking for her on Ravelry, it's Kirsten-Michele. And I will link to her Ravelry page. Also, if you're not following her on Instagram, you really, really should. I meant to go and look and see if it was Kirsten-Michele on Instagram or Kirsten-Michele knits. I will try to link her Instagram. If I can't just link it, then I will put the name that she goes under and you can search for her. She has some of the most incredibly stunning patterns out there. And I cannot understand why she's not just a super huge designer. Her stuff is absolutely gorgeous, and it's not all color work. There's some textured stuff in there. There's cardigans, there's sweaters, I think there's some accessories. I won't swear to that because honestly, I only look at cardigans and sweaters because I don't do accessories hardly ever. Of course I do every once in a while, right? I just showed you a pair of fingerless gloves and I've shown you a hat, but that's not my focus. So when I'm looking at somebody's patterns, I'm usually looking to see if they have sweaters or cardigans or t-shirts that I really like. And she just has some stunners. In fact, my Christmas sweater this year, I'm going to do a red and white version. I haven't decided if I'm going to try to join the test knit that's due in September or if I'm going to buy one of her patterns to do. I just haven't decided which one I want to test or I want to knit the red and white in. I mean, oh my goodness, her patterns. So let's make her big. Go out and check her out, right? I would love to see her just explode with the amount of patterns she has, the beauty of her patterns. And she is running on her Instagram. She's doing a lot of giveaways right now of patterns. So if you're looking for some patterns and you're like, hey, I would love to be entered, she is doing individual pattern giveaways. And I think right now, and don't quote me on this because it could be over, but I think right now she's running one for a collection of patterns in her macrame or something. I don't remember what it is, but she has collections that kind of go together, and she's running a giveaway of all of the collections or all of the patterns in that collection. So go check her out. Again, this is Janeloudi by Kirsten-Michele. You can see, I showed this in my blocking and swatching video, how, it was all nice and puckered up and it was a different color because I hadn't blocked it, and Holst has spinning oil on it. You can see how it just relaxed and the color work just became so much more crisp. The ribbing down here is so much better than it was. It's just absolutely beautiful, and it's the same color. The spinning oil all came out. This is Holst Super Soft. This is the color Sapphire, and this is the color Bleached White. And I do want to make sure that I say, Kirsten-Michele did not sponsor me. She did not ask me to speak about all of this. I did get her permission to show the finished object and to put the pictures up and everything. But she's not asked me to do this. I really love her patterns, and I would love to see her explode, and have her business just really take off. Hopefully that's, what she wants. Maybe this will start a fire. Maybe not. I might not make any difference. But she really is a lovely designer, and she's been fabulous in the test knit. She's been so encouraging, has commented on my pictures and told me how lovely it looks and everything. It's really nice to have a designer who supports their test knitters with really good positive feedback. Holst also has not sponsored this. I know I talk a lot about Holst because I've shared it is that one brand that if I had to knit with something forever, that it would be the one that I would pick. They have not sponsored this in any shape, form, or fashion either. I've bought all of the yarn myself, and I will continue buying the yarn. I love their yarn. Love their yarn. So there will be more of this yarn in my future. There will be more projects out of this yarn. But for now, I'm just going to show you one more. Isn't that gorgeous? Just look at that design. And it is much, much, much easier than it looks. I promise you. Oh, I almost forgot. I do want to show you the inside of my sweater because I'm pretty proud of it. Give me just a second to get it all turned inside out here. I decided that I wasn't going to catch a lot of floats because the fit, when I catch the floats really often, seems to like pull in more, and there's not as much give when it blocks out. And so I wind up with a fit that I'm not in love with, and I don't wear them as often. Now, this is not true if I'm using, well, I won't say it's not true. It is somewhat true if I'm using super soft wool, but it superwash stretches more. So it does make a difference, and it does stretch out more. And over time, it can stretch out to the point where I don't like it. I have a shirt that's living at Letha's shop because I made it out of super wash merino. And it's a sock yarn. It has some nylon in it, and I thought that would give it a little bit more structure to maybe not grow so much. It's a short sleeve top. I really love the design. I mean, I love that design. But it grew so much when I blocked it that it almost looks like a dress on me. Oh, my fault. I should not have, I tend to knit my things a little bit longer than they call for because I don't want anything cropped. I should have thought about how superwash behaves and not added length. I should have, let it be where it was, and then it would have probably fit perfectly. Again, one of those things, lessons learned. I'm not as upset that I knitted it because it was a fun knit. It was a beautiful product. And now it gets to live at Letha's shop because she carries the yarn that I knitted it out of. So she's able to show an example of what it knits up like. So win, win, win. All right. So the inside of this sweater. Look at this. I mean, I could almost wear it inside out. Right? I mean, there's a few places where you see, I did catch floats if they were 7 or 8 or longer. I would catch it in the middle and just catch it one time. I haven't tried the jacquard ladder yet, and that's something I kind of want to try and see if that's like a good compromise between not catching the floats, and sometimes you have to catch the floats because these parts where you can see here where we had all white or all blue, I had to catch some floats. I couldn't, go however many stitches that was. I don't remember. I'd have to look at the pattern without catching a float. That would just be too insanely large. So I haven't tried the jacquard ladder yet. I do want to try that. And I know Valentina Knits, she does some jacquard ladder for her color work. So that's one of those that I want to try next. And all of these will be linked down below. I won't be able to link the Janeloudi until it actually gets released on the 22nd. So in 15 days, I'll come back in and I'll link that. I will put the name of it and have a little space there so I can just come in and link. But everything that I talk about here, I will link. If I just talk about a designer, I will link to her Ravelry store and not to a specific pattern. But I really like how this turned out. And I will tell you, especially with the sleeves, I worried. I was like, I'm not catching these floats. Some of them are kind of long there. You can see, I mean, I can put my finger under it. Am I going to get caught as I'm trying to put my hands in? I've had that happen with some superwash ones. And, I'm going to put my hands in. I'm going to get caught. Has not happened. And I've tried it on several times and taken pictures and everything else. And I think the reason why is because of the fact that this is 100% non-superwash wool, they kind of felt together a little bit. So they stick together. They like each other and they stay together. Superwash wool doesn't do that. And that is not to say, I am not saying do not do color work in superwash wool. Heck yeah, I do color work in superwash wool. I've got several sweaters in color work that's superwash wool, and they come out stunning because the stitch definition is so nice. But you do have to know how your fabric acts and how it's going to grow, etc., so that you don't wind up with the garment that you'll never wear. All right, so floats, Janeloudi, penny gloves. That's all I have gotten done completely. But this episode I am going to call It's All About That Tolsta. See, I'm aging myself again. Not a super popular song anymore, but it was for a while. We'll see if anybody catches what that was about. But I decided, and I am wearing, I did not say what I was wearing at the first because I knew I was going to talk about this. I am wearing, and I'm going to stand up so you can see it. Woo, that's really, really, really close. But you can see this is a Tolsta tee, and I did do the modification that she lists in her pattern of doing the thin stripes. This was the first one I did, and I screwed up because I got the pattern out, And it is a wonderful pattern, and she includes so many modifications. I mean, it has, Sandy's Garden calls it worsted, but I'm telling you, Lena is DK. It just is. So it calls for a Lena or drop spell type gauge, so kind of a DK. And she's got that one in short sleeve and long sleeve with or without bust shaping. She also has a 4-ply or fingering weight with all of those, short sleeved, long sleeved, with or without bust shaping. She does this with a lot of her patterns, and the pattern is by Rebecca Clow, or the Crayabea. She does this with a lot of her patterns, and then she has a whole file on just modifications that people have done with this thin one, with the thicker one that I showed, there's some like little eyelets or solids or this or that, just really, really, really great and thoughtful patterns. So I got the pattern, I started knitting because my little English, my non-metric brain, my American brain, when it said to use a 6mm and a 4mm and a 6mm, 4mm for the ribbing and a 6mm for the body, I saw it as US 4 and 6. Well, I started knitting away and wondered why, because this was during a knit along up at Letha's shop, so several of us were working on it, and I wondered why my gauge was quite a bit tighter than everybody else's. And Letha pointed out to me that is not a US 4 and 6. That is a 4mm or a US 6 and a 6mm or a US 8. Oh, well, okay. But I really liked the fabric. But I did want to knit it on the suggested needles first to see how it turned out. I ripped it out. I was probably only down in here. I don't think I'd started the first stripe yet. So I just frogged all that, and then I used the correct needles. I wound up, as I was knitting, and I'm not exactly sure of the cast on here, what it was for the size that I actually wound up knitting body-wise than it was for the one I started out with, because I usually like about 8 inches of ease or so. So I usually do like a 50.5 or a 51, somewhere around in that size range. And so I was knitting that one. I was like, this might be a little bit big. So I did knit the size down. I think it's a 48 or 48.5, somewhere around there. And so I did knit that, and it turned out really nice. I really like how it fits. And I fell so in love with the pattern and with the fit, I decided I needed to knit another one. So here comes the second one. But this time I decided, you know what? I'm going to knit the bigger size, but I am going to knit it in a US 4 and a US 6 because I like that fabric. I did not do bust shaping, just knitted it. And you can see here, this beautiful, both of these are out of Sandy's Garden Lena. You can see this beautiful, beautiful, and sorry it's wrinkled, but beautiful orange color. And I really like the fabric. It's denser, it's a little bit tighter. It's not as airy, which I will tell you, when we're walking on the surface of the sun in the summer, this one I do like wearing more because it is airier, it's drapier, it allows airflow a little bit better. But on the days that are kind of mild, I really like this one. And so I knit this one in the size, whatever it is, 50.5, 51. Decided, you know what? This is my new summer obsession. I need this in every color that they make. I have got to knit. I'm just going to knit them, right? Oh my gosh, I have to knit these. Because if I can get a little obsessed with things, and whenever I get obsessed with the pattern, holy cow. And I don't repeat knit very often. I repeat knit the Monday sweater. I have repeat knit the ranunculus. I've repeat knit the penny gloves, and now I've repeat knit this. I don't, other than, now I do have one by Marie Green, and it's out of a book, so I will just post her Ravelry store as well. I did repeat knit her patterns because, and before I put a picture up, let me ask Anna if I can, and if not, if there's no picture up here, you'll know Anna said please don't, or if I blur their faces out or something, you'll know that she just, and I don't blame her, I wouldn't want my kids on the internet either probably. But I did do a repeat knit, and I've knitted the entire family matching sweaters a couple of years ago. But that was an exception because it was to have matching sweaters, and we got 3 kids and 2 adults. And then I also have repeat knitted when I knitted and the two girls matching sweaters, and whenever just the two girls matching sweaters, I will repeat knit if it's something like that. And I have go-tos for like baby things. But as far as repeat knits that I want to wear, few and far between. Well, decided I needed, because this color spoke to me so much. So much. I needed a burgundy Tolsta tee. And this time, I'm going to try to come a little bit closer so you can see. I decided to do bust shaping. You can barely see. There's a little bust shaping right there. And I chose the D bust shaping because it was the difference between my upper chest or my upper bust measurement and my full bust measurement indicated that I needed to do a D. I did this one also on the US 4 and US 6. This fits so nice. It's just a little bit more, it's not really form-fitting because this yarn does grow. When I first put it on, right after I blocked it, I was like, ooh, this might be a little bit tight, but it has grown and just fits really well. I really have a lot of confidence in this one. It fits well enough that it shows that I have a shape that is not just straight or just fat. It shows that I have a little shape, but it's not so form-fitting that I'm uncomfortable going, oh, there's those fat rolls, right? No, it fits really well. So did it with the bust shaping, and then I decided, well, I need a fingering weight yarn, or a fingering weight version. This time I picked Coast by Holzgarn, and I held it single, and I made this stunning blue one. And I did use the recommended needles. I think it was a 2.5 and a 4. US 2.5 and a 4. I don't swear to that. But I did use the recommended needle size, and I knitted the 50, 51, whatever it was. It fits so well. I love this sweater. I mean, or t-shirt, whatever it's called. I love this. And I love the fabric so much, to the point that I am going to make a long-sleeved fingering weight out of this color in the Holzgarn Coast. And I love this pattern so much that I also need, using the recommended needle sizes of the 6mm and, or the 40mm and 6mm, so the US 6 and 8, I am going to do, and I showed this on my Whips Everywhere. I haven't made any progress on it since then, but I'm going to make it a black and white one with thicker stripes. I don't know, I was really ambitious and said, oh, I'll get it done before the end of the summer, which I might, because I do have quite a bit of time to knit right now. If you watched my personal section of the last video, you'll know why, and I will update y'all on that in the personal section. But I do have quite a bit of time to knit, so I may be able to knock these out before the end of the summer, but other things are distracting me and are making me want to knit more. So this is one of the whips that I have going, and I do plan on working on it a little bit. We'll see. It may become potato chippy, and I may just have to knock it out. And I don't have any test knits going right now. That test knit was my last test knit, so I'm done with that. I did, however, reach out to Amanda about possibly test knitting her design again. We'll see what happens there. If not, I'll just buy the pattern later. All right, other whips that I'm working on that y'all saw a ton of them, right? I'm down to 14 now, but I do have a couple down here that I made some really significant progress on. The Emmanuel tee, last time I showed it, I was just right up here. I had just joined in the round. So I have done more on that. I've done the applied I-cord around the neck to see how it fits. It's a little big. If I knit it again, I will knit the size smaller because it has turned out a little big. But before I make that decision, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash and dry it. Because this is cotton and silk, I can throw it in the dryer. And I'm going to see if I can shrink it a little. But here's that back. I mean, it's just beautiful. And yes, I know you're supposed to block lace and you're supposed to pull it. But I honestly do not think that I need to aggressively block this. So even if I didn't throw it in the dryer, I would just pat it out. And if it does draw up too much and I lose the lace, then I will wet block it again and pat it out and get it where I want it. But this has been getting some time from me since I finished the test knit because I really do want to wear this. It's absolutely gorgeous, and we still got at least a good month of summer left, and then September can be hot, or it can be kind of fall weather, so you can usually get away with wearing short sleeves. So I really like to be able to wear this before the season's over. So I'm planning on focusing on that as well. And then I've shared with you about the kids knitting that I'm doing. And I may be adding something to it. But I have the youngest one, her dress is split for sleeves. The boy top, one sleeve's almost to where that I would attach it. I've got to do the other sleeve. The body is where I'm going to attach everything and then just knit the top. And then this is the oldest one's pattern. This one is the Sunday dress by PetiteKnit. And I am almost, I've got like a couple of centimeters. Well, I could turn it right side out. I've got a couple of centimeters of just stockinette to knit before I split this for sleeves. And then I will start on the skirt part. So those will get some love. Hopefully I'll be able to show you that this has been split and show you some real progress before, you know, in my next weekly episode next week. And so that brings us up to plans. And as I said, I got a couple of things off my needles. So I've got a little bit of cast on-itis. And one of the things I cast on already, and I had to rip it out because I did not read the pattern, Henrietta. I am so sorry. I should have read the whole pattern. But I didn't read the whole pattern because it's a raglan sweater. It's got some really cool raglan stuff, and it goes all the way down the sides too. I was really excited. This is the Coffee Break by Veronika Lindberg. And I was so excited. I've got her book, Knits to Wear, I think it's called. And I love this sweater. I want this sweater so bad. And I want this sweater in pink. You will discover pink is my favorite color. But I want this color in pink. I've got this Drops Lima that is an alpaca wool blend. And so it'll give it a nice, pretty halo. And I really want just a solid color, solid sweater in this color. This is one of my favorite pinks. I just love pink, all pink. Pink is pink. I mean, even pink that looks bad on me, I love it. I wouldn't wear it, but I love it. But this is probably one of my favorite pink shades. I cast it on, and it calls for using, I think it's a US 2.5 for the neck, and it's knit on like an 8. I think the body is a US 8 or a 7. It's a bigger size. And it calls for a 2.5 on the collar, and I was like, okay. So I knit the collar, and it's twisted rib. Not my favorite ribbing. Whatever, I got through that. I was all excited. I put the 8. I start knitting, and I'm like, that neck looks awfully small. Okay, I'm gonna try it on. It fit. It came over my head, but it was kind of tight right here. And I went and looked at the pattern, and it is not tight on her. It's fitted more like this, so it comes out some. And I started looking through the pattern, and I see where it says gauge. You are supposed to gauge swatch the collar as well. You need to gauge swatch your neckline. And when I went and did that and gauge swatched and blocked it, because I tried a 2.5, I tried a 3, and I tried a 4, all US sizes, whatever those are in millimeters. I tried all of those, and the 4 is where I wound up with gauge. So I haven't cast it back on since I ripped all of that out, since I don't want that tight neck. So that's one of the ones that I'm thinking about casting on, and this is where I need y'all's help. I will put pictures up here as well with as I'm talking about them, and I will leave them up longer. That is feedback that I have gotten. I will put pictures up of these so that you can give me some feedback. I would love for y'all to comment and tell me what you think I should cast on next. They're all fairly similar in gauge. There's that one. There is the Zuri sweater by ToksKnits, and she's having a cowl right now. So that would be a fun thing to get involved in. And I'm going to knit it in Knitting for Olive, Merino, and Pure Silk Mohair, or Soft Silk Mohair rather. I'm going to knit it in these two held together, and this is the color Blue Tit. This is just going to be a stunning, stunning, stunning version of that sweater, and I have been dying to knit it. I bought it the first day she brought it out for multiple reasons. I do want to support her. She has a YouTube channel, and she is just delightful. She lives up in Massachusetts, so I feel a little connection with her because I lived up in Massachusetts for 4 years. And I love it when she shows some video outside and I see the different seasons and all that. So I do want to support her. She's just getting started. I think the Zuri sweater was her very first design. And I just thought it was absolutely beautiful. I'm not going to go out probably. It's not to say I won't. But probably if there's a design that I'm like, oh, I would never, not only would I never wear that, I really don't want to knit it. I'm probably not going to buy the pattern unless you have connected with me in such a way that I'm like, I don't care if I ever knit it. I just want to give you money and support you. That is not the case with this one. The pattern is so beautiful. I mean, I was salivating. I'm telling you, I was watching her podcast as she's showing some samples and stuff and showing the process. And I'm going, oh, let me wipe the drool off my chin, because that is absolutely stunning. Because it is, again, it's one of those simple, classic, elegant, just timeless designs. It's a raglan, but she's got, you know, cabling through here. And I know there's cabling on the sleeves, and I'm not sure if it runs all down the body. I'd have to go look, but it really is pretty. And so that's another one that I might do. And then the third one, and I've shared this a little bit, that I wanted to do, I wore my summer sorrel before, and I shared that I wanted to do a long sleeve sorrel, and I was going to do it in Letha's hand-dyed yarn. I don't remember what this colorway, she called this colorway, but I've got a sweater quantity of this, and I'm pairing it with the Knitting for Olive and Cherry Blossom, the mohair. I want to knit the sorrel, which is the long sleeve version, in this. And I do have a swatch here, and this is the case where I swatched to see what the fabric would do and what it would look like, because I thought, oh, I knew it would be gorgeous with this. It just softens it up just a little bit, makes it just flow a little bit better, I think. Variegated yarns are, and let me tell you, Letha does beautiful variegated yarns, but I don't always love how anybody's variegated yarns work up when I'm just using that yarn. But when I add a mohair to it, I think that it just gives it enough of a little bit of a softness that there's no starkness. And there's not really any starkness in this. I mean, you can see these colors are blended really, really well. But I do love holding it with a mohair, a hand-dyed variegated. So I decided, you know, I knew it'd look good with that, but I had some Kid Silk Haze by Rowan in, I think it's called Candy or Candy Floss, that is this really pretty hot pink, and I thought, ooh, that might be pretty, because you can see there's some hot pink flecks in here, but you can see that it really took over, and you just don't get any of this beauty of the variations and the variegation. I want the beauty of it, absolutely. So I won't hold it. Now, I do have another hand-dyed by Letha that is more this color, that I'm going to do a swatch with this color and just see. And this is really close to Pink Daisies by Knitting for Olive, and she has that in her store. So I'm going to do a little bit of swatching and see what that looks like. And it's I think it's a worsted weight, so it'd be a little bit heavier sweater, but I'm just going to see what that looks like. But I am digressing and going down a little rabbit hole and a little tangent. What I would like for y'all to do is drop me a line down in the comments and tell me, do you think I should cast on the Sorrel, long-sleeved Sorrel sweater in this colorway? Should I cast on the Zuri sweater in this colorway? And these are all long-sleeved. Or should I cast on the Coffee Break in this sweater, in this colorway? And I will have put those pictures up again. They might have been quicker than whenever I was really talking about them, but just as a reminder. So help a girl out here and let me know what you think. I am now going to switch. You can probably see I have some cones right here beside me. They were going to be in a shelf up there, and let me see if I can just quickly, well, let me see if I can quickly move this. Yeah, see those holes? So I had this shelf up there. And that was where I was going to put different yarns for my stash each week so that I could talk about them. Well, I put these yarns up there and it just kept falling. So got a little irritated and I just pulled the dead gum thing out of the wall. So now I have these 4 little holes, but I talked to Brandon, and Brandon told me if I get L brackets and better wall anchors from like Lowe's or Home Depot or somewhere, that he would be able to come out and we could just set that up on L brackets, and physics is going to make it better and all of this. Okay, I believe you. This just had like these 2, you mounted it up on the wall and it had these 2 little straight arms that came out, and then there's holes in the back of the shelf and you slide it on there. Well, it just kept sliding off. As soon as I put weight on it, it's sliding off. So that wasn't going to help me. So Brandon's going to get that done hopefully before next episode. But meanwhile, while I was waiting on that, I am going to switch and I am going to talk about some yarn out of my stash. So if you are not into yarn acquisitions, and I did acquire this yarn, obviously I bought it all, not recently. This has been acquired over like the last year or more. But it is an acquisition out of my stash. So if you're not into yarn acquisitions and you don't care about my personal, you know, if you do, if you're like, well, I want to stay for your personal update, but I don't care about your acquisitions, just run it through. You can just fast forward through this part. Excuse me. So I'm going to talk real quick about a section of my stash. And I will tell you, mohair, oh, it's a dangerous thing. It's a slippery slope, people, because what I did was I knitted my very first mohair sweater last year. I knitted some Knitting for Olive. I knitted It's Not a Sweatshirt sweater out of the Knitting for Olive book, and I fell in love with mohair. Now, at first I put it on and I was like, ooh, this is kind of prickly. I got used to it really, really quick, and I was able to wear it no problem. And the more I wear it, the softer it gets, the more that I've only washed it, I think, one time since I blocked it. The more I do that, the softer it gets. So it softens up a lot. Melissa decided everything needed to have mohair, so woo! Let's go get mohair. And I like it all. Essayer. I've got some hand-dyed mohair by Letha. I've got, and then of course the alpaca, Zuri silk. I've got some hand-dyed from Letha on that. I've got some other colorways. And then I found at Woolly Yarn, who I linked, or I put down in there. I don't know if I'll link. You can Google for that. Woolly Yarn out of Lithuania, and the shipping is expensive. It's not cheap. It's, you know, 30 bucks or whatever, but the difference in the price made it worth it to me. And so I bought a whole bunch of mohair on cones. Now that Letha has more mohair in her shop, I will probably just get all the mohair from Letha. I don't need to go somewhere else, but I do like the idea of having some mohair on cones. So I got this. I've got a Holst Garn Tides that I'm going to hold this with for a pattern. And it doesn't look exactly like it did on the website, but it really is a beautiful, like, purpley color that I really, really like this color. So I got a sweater quantity. All of these are sweater quantities. Some of them I got more than others. And so there's the purple. Here's this stunning navy blue that was probably my latest acquisition from there. Sorry, I'm picking out drywall because when it fell and then I pulled the thing out, it got some drywall on some of this. And this is, I love this one because you can see that the silk cord is dyed the same color, so you don't have that white color in here in this navy blue. And I think I only got one ball of it, or one cone of this one. But the next one that I'm going to show you, which is their brown, the same way where it's dyed. Right, and these are mill ends that come from fashion houses whenever they get down to the end. This one I actually got three cones of. One is to hold with another yarn and make a sweater out of. The other ones are to hold together, double, because I have a Rowan pattern, and I'll see if I can find it and put a picture up here. I'm not positive because it is a book pattern. I don't know if I'll be able to find it on Ravelry. But I'm going to hold it double, and I'm going to hold it double with one of these. I think it's one of these two yarns. Whoop, let me just, these are, you know, a couple of variations. Let me hold this one back up, and you can kind of let me know too which one you think that I should hold it with. Let's see if I can get this one in the middle. I'm leaning towards this one, but I could be convinced for this one, but I'm going to hold it double, and it's a color work. It's a mohair, all mohair color work. And you hold it double, and their colorways that they used was a light pink and a dark brown. Light pink for the main sweater and a dark brown for the colorwork part. I want to do a dark brown for the main sweater and then do one of these two for, there, do one of these two for the colorwork. So let me know what you think. And when I bought these two, I was stupid and didn't buy 2 cones of them, so I'll have to wind off some of that. That's okay. It's no big deal. I really needed the 2 cones for this because the main color of the sweater would be much more than the color work. And then I have a few more. I have this is a navy blue as well, but you can see they didn't dye, sorry, again, the drywall. They didn't dye the thing, so it's a little bit lighter, and so you get that little bit of marling. I don't mind that. I will hold this with another yarn and maybe some tin Pure Gint in navy blue, or I might even get Pure Gint whenever Letha brings that in, or a Sunday, double Sunday. Let's see, those are all Sandus Garn. I might even hold it with some Knitting for Olive, who knows? But I'll hold it with something. I have a purple one as well. This one will get held with something as well to make either just a raglan, or I might do a little cable-y stuff with this. I have this green that I thought whenever I bought it was going to be a little bit more forest green than it is, but that's okay. I actually have some yarn in my stash that is from Onling, and I think I'm going to hold it with that and make some kind of, like I said, I don't know what, if it'll be a regular raglan, a cable-y sweater, a lace sweater, I don't know, but I am going to hold it with another yarn, obviously. Then I got this. This is a little grayer than I expected. I expected it to be a little bit wider. But I got this to go with, they had the exact same colorway as well in a merino. And I'm going to hold that double. And I actually have, hang on, let me reach down. I actually have this other little bitty in this dark blue. And I think I'm going to hold this with dark blue Sunday, I think it is. Anyway, I've got a dark blue, I think, merino. And then I got a merino in this. And I'm going to hold them together. And I think that this is going to become a porcelain sweater. I haven't decided if I'm going to do the porcelain yoke or the full-blown porcelain, but I think that these are the colors that I'm going to do them in. And then I bought this beautiful turquoise thinking that it might go with the turquoise Holzgarn Tides. It would probably go. I just need to swatch it up, but I didn't just immediately look at it and go, oh yeah, that's going to be gorgeous. I need to take time to swatch it up. If not, I'll find something else to go with. I'll do a marline, I'll put it on white, I'll do something, but this is just a stunning turquoise color. I will find something to go with this. And if not, you know what? Letha will dye me one to go with this. I am perfectly certain of that because she is such a great dyer that she can do that. And she has done it for me before and dyed me a color I was looking for. And finally, last but not least, I have red. And this red is actually going to go with, I've got some Drops Flora, and it's going to go with the Drops Flora, and I'm going to make the Cargill sweater from Rebecca Clow, Crayabelle. That is a pattern that I actually won. I was watching Rosemary and Pine's video on designers, and she's got some really great videos out there on designers from different parts of the world, and she had one on Scottish designers, and Rebecca Clow, or Crayabelle, was featured in it. And she kindly gave away, I don't remember how many patterns it was 2 or 3 or something. And you had to do, you know, what you normally have to do in a podcast, and you have to comment below and say what pattern you want and list your rap name and all this stuff. And I did, and I won. I got the Cargill sweater. I was so excited because I don't ever win anything. And so I was really, really excited that I won that. So I have that pattern. It is in the queue. Not quite ready to start it yet because it's going to be a pretty big knit. And that is it for that section of my stash. Now, I do have other mohair and other Surrey silk and all that that's not on cones. I just wanted to feature the ones that are on cones today. And I'm loving me. I do. I love me some mohair, honey. I love me some Surrey silk. I love me some Lucia, the Holzgarn Lucia. That's the yak and wool and alpaca and silk. That's the alternative to mohair. It's so soft. Oh, if I had unlimited funds, guys, I would have every mohair that's out there. Oh my gosh. But I do not, alas, I do not have unlimited funds. I do have some funds, but not unlimited, unfortunately. If I ever win the lottery, everybody will know because I will have so much yarn that my house will explode. All right, that is it for yarn. And now I'm going to switch into personal. And I shared last week, I was pretty teary and it was really fresh. It was the day after I had gotten laid off. Well, right after I got off that video, I had a recruiter reach out to me from a company that I used to work with and said, I have a position. I'd love for you to interview for it. Of course, I said yes. I'm not dumb. And I interviewed for it Monday and I got the call this morning. I did, in fact, get the job. I start on September the 2nd. So I am going to use the next several weeks to simply relax. I have been frantically, trying to get my house in order. Oh, I'm going to have to sell my house, right? Because I go to the worst case scenario. But I'm going to continue that because I do want to get my house straighter than it is. I mean, if you saw the nest around my chair where I knit, you'd be like, that is not a nest. That is a mess, Melissa. You need to get that cleared up. So I'm really working hard to get things to where that, just in case, right? This was a big wake-up call for me that hey, things could happen. And while I do have savings, my savings are not, as I said, I don't have unlimited funds. I have not won the lottery yet. I guess kind of have to buy a ticket for that, but I haven't won the lottery yet. So I don't have unlimited funds that I can fall back on. I do have savings, which is a blessing, but they would run out eventually. So I am very excited that I got this job. And I have to tell you, I said last week that, you know, I was relying on God and that his plan is always better than my plan. Well, let me tell you, this is a perfect example of that. I could not have probably dreamed up a scenario where I would wind up losing my job and then in the end being more financially secure than I was before I lost my job. The majority of my severance, sorry, I just noticed I had these little horns sticking out. The majority of my severance will go into savings. I will earmark a little of it to do things. I kind of would like a new stove and microwave. I really need a new microwave. So I'll probably use some of it to do that. Let's be honest, I'm probably going to buy a little bit of yarn and put some aside for Black Friday. But the majority of it will wind up in savings. So I will be in a better position if this happens again in the future. And I save, I do 401k. I'll have to set that up whenever they contact me on how that rolls over. I'll have to set up something to where that a certain amount is going in there, probably not as much as was going in there before, but I would like it to come out of my check and just automatically go in there. I already have some stuff that comes out of my savings account into another savings or checking account into another savings account with American Express. I'll continue doing that, and I'll probably up that. This was a big wake-up call. And guys, I want to talk a little bit about some things that I really was not totally expecting when this happened. And I listened to a podcast by Harvard Business Review about this, about what to do, how do you bounce back when you suddenly find yourself without a job. And they said it's perfectly normal, but boy, I wasn't expecting it. You want to talk about some self-talk. This shook my confidence to the point that Thursday morning, before I recorded last week's episode, I had myself unemployable. I would not be able to get a job at Starbucks. I wouldn't be able to get a job at McDonald's. I wouldn't be able to get a job anywhere. Nobody would want me. I must be horrible at my job because my last company let me go, even though it was a reduction in force and there were 20 of us that were impacted. It was not just me. It was not performance-based. I realized that logically, that this was a business decision, and I was a pretty high earner. It's a business decision. I get it. But it didn't keep me from sitting there and my confidence being so shook. And yesterday, to the point where I knew I was going to hear back about that job either yesterday or today, I could not eat. Everything I put in my mouth made me nauseous and made me want to throw up because I was so nervous, because I was convinced. I went between feeling like I had done, because I really felt like I had done really well in the interview. I really connected with the guy. It was great. And I went from, I had a really good interview. I feel like he's going to want to bring me on the team because I bring these things to the team. And honestly, at my age, I bring some dynamic that younger people don't, just because they don't have as much life experience. They haven't been out there as much. It's not that there's not a place for young people. There absolutely is, and I can learn a lot from young people. But there's a place for my generation as well. And that was probably one of the scariest things for me was I'm 55 years old. I am 11 years and 1 month, almost to the day, away from retirement. That's a lot of years to try to cover. My house will be paid off in about 6 years, so I would feel a little bit more comfortable if that were the case, not having to make a house payment. But there is a place for our generation in the workforce. We bring things that the younger generation doesn't, just from lack of experience. So it's really, really, I went between confidence and not being cocky and not counting chickens or anything, but thinking, he should hire me. I would be a great fit. I would really bring something to the table. I went between that and, well, there's no way he's going to hire me. There were 26 people up for this, and there were, I'm sure, a lot of great candidates. Even though Raza, my recruiter, was like, yes, and you were one of them, Melissa, stop this. But as you can imagine, I got in my head, and I was like, I had such big emotions yesterday, and I know that's what was making my nausea and making me really feel like I needed to be sick, was because I went from kind of extreme highs of being excited that I might get this job, and then going and spending time with my yarn ladies and being really happy there and getting loved on, and having that emotional high to that really emotional low of feeling like that I'm not going to get the job and I'm going to have to sell my house. And what does that look like? How long do I have to get that in order? Because if I sold my house, I would be in a good location. I mean, I'd be in a good space. I would move somewhere. I would downsize. I'd get a smaller house. I'd pay cash for it, and I wouldn't have a mortgage. I'm not going to be destitute, right? I am not going to be destitute. But in my mind, I was going to be destitute. And no matter how much I said that God does not forsake me, and no matter how, I'm a human. So I gave this thing to God probably 1,000 times since last week, and I picked it back up. But God did not forsake me, and this job did come through. And so I can breathe a sigh of relief and hopefully not have all of those big emotions and all of that just emotional baggage that goes with it. But guys, seriously, don't self-talk. It really, I don't know if you've experienced a layoff before. I have never. I have been without a job, but it was not due to a layoff. I have never experienced where they just came in and said, this is it. You no longer have a job. It was frightening. It was demoralizing. It made me question everything I do, no matter how many times they told me it was not performance-based and that this was just based on business decisions. They can tell you that all day long. You can't help but take it personal. So guys, if you are going through that and you need somebody who can listen and talk to you and help prop you up, please reach out to me in email or on Instagram. Just let me know. I'd be happy to lend an ear, because that is something that has helped more than anything. My brother, my friends, my yarn ladies, everybody has listened to me whine and cry for the last week and be terrified and scared and vulnerable and all of that. And you guys on here watching last week, that has helped more than anything to get me through this, to have somebody say, Melissa, you're worthy. So please reach out if you need someone to say you are worthy and that you deserve to have that job, or, you bring things to the table. And now we'll get off of that part. I did just want to share the excitement with you. I was really excited this morning when I got the call. My recruiter, Raza, he's so funny because he called me and he's like, hey, how are you doing? And I'm like, I'm good, which he's always so upbeat and he's so energetic. And I'm like, how are you? And he said, I'm great. I'm taking off this weekend, but your day's fixing to get a lot better. And so I knew right then. It was fantastic. So thank you to everybody who prayed, who said a kind word, who commented, and all of those things. Now, off my job subject, personally, you can probably tell I had a haircut last week. It is a little bit shorter, and I did have these, I kind of noticed them, but I didn't want to be obvious about trying to get them down there. So I had these little horns that were sticking out throughout the whole video. But hey, you know what? Life is messy. Things are real on this channel. It is what it is. So I had little horns. Y'all can make fun of it. I don't care. I think it's kind of funny. But I did get a haircut. I was going to cancel it because I made the haircut appointment before I lost my job, and I decided no, I really shouldn't do that, because I do need to keep my appearance up because I'm going to have interviews, etc. So I went ahead and went and got my haircut. I also had a physical therapy appointment. You can see, and honestly, right now it's really great because it is straight. You can see though it's not quite as straight as the other ones where I had my surgery for the trigger finger here. But when I knit, and especially the last week, I've been knitting a lot because I've had a lot of time. After I knit for a while, it will be stuck, not stuck. I should not use that word, because as my surgeon told me, that is a very specific movement and a very specific thing in a finger. It does not get stuck, but it is bent and it is painful to straighten it out. And so I have to kind of work at it, or I just have to go about my day and do what I'm doing now and do a podcast and hold up things and gesture, because I cannot talk without my hands. If you tied my hands behind my back, I'm not sure that I could talk. My mom was the same way. She used to also use her feet. It was pretty funny. There was a funny story about that. But anyway, just doing normal stuff, it will straighten back out. And it's just going to take time. But I did have a therapy appointment this week just to talk about it. And my grip strength is kind of not good. So I do have some exercises. He did look at me and say, you might want to limit your knitting. And I looked at him and went, what have you been smoking? Because that will not ever happen. I'm not limiting my knitting. But I did agree to take more frequent breaks and do some hand exercises. So I'm doing that. I'm not knitting for as long as stretches. I am knitting for, say, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then I'm stopping and doing a little bit of, just straightening out my hand. or just taking a break and doing something else so that I give my hand a break from being in that position. And so that's really it. Something did just pop back into my head that I really wanted to mention this because I thought this was a really sweet, sweet thing. My youngest son, Cameron, the one that lives with me due to being disabled, I, of course, ran in his room this morning. Well, I actually didn't have to. I called my brother first thing because he's the one that's listened to me more than anybody. And so I called him this morning, and I was loud. I was excited. And when I got off the phone with Raza, I might have gone, woo! You know, been all excited about it. I didn't realize that Cameron was up yet. So I went in his room, and I'm knocking, and I opened the door. He goes, you got the job, didn't you? I'm assuming. And I was like, yes. Well, when he came out a little bit later, he looked at me, and he said, Mom, you need to have more confidence in your skills and in yourself and how you connect with people. Because I have spent the last week preparing him that we're going to have to stop your myofascial release therapy that you'd get because I pay for that out of my pocket. Insurance doesn't cover it. It's not terribly, terribly bad, but it is something that we might have had to cut if I was living on savings. You know, you're going to have to, we're going to have to not, you know, we're going to have to eat out of the freezer. We're not going to be able to buy steaks. We might have to sell the house. You might need to think about that. I'm going to have to cut streaming services. I'm going to have to do that because I am doomsday. I have to come up with a plan for the worst case scenario, and then I can actually deal with things. So he has listened to me for the last week. And for him to say that to me as a 32-year-old guy, to tell me that I need to have more confidence in my skills and that I do bring things to the table, I just thought it was a super sweet moment. And it really let me know that my kids do appreciate me. My oldest, Brandon, he was excited for me as well. Of course, he's a little bit more laid back and a little bit more, he was like, good deal. I'm happy for you, Mom. But that was like, that's really great praise from him. So my kids have been supportive. I did want to mention that just because I thought it was a really sweet, sweet thing that he did. And I'm trying to think, I've spent a lot of time at the yarn shop, as you can imagine. I have a lot of time on my hands right now. Been knitting, been cleaning my house, been trying to get my pool in order because, good gosh, this year with all the rain, it has been a devil to try to keep the algae out of there. So I did do a little something with the t-shirt yesterday. I wore one of my branded t-shirts from my company when I was putting bleach in the pool, and oops, some bleach splashed up on it, and then I just threw it away. I did not like cut it up or anything, so, but as you can imagine, you go through stages. I was pretty angry yesterday. So been trying to get the pool, you know, to act right, because I haven't really spent any time in the pool, and I want to spend some time in the pool. I have a wedding to go to this weekend. One of our yarn friends is getting married, and I'm going to take a couple of the ladies, the older ladies, with me, so that they don't have to drive, and it might be dark at the end of the wedding, you know, so they won't have to drive at night or anything. And I just love these ladies so much. Obviously, no one will ever completely fill the hole in my heart that my mom left when she passed away, but they've really helped to fill it some and help to kind of give me that feeling of being able to take care of my mom. And I just love these ladies. So if you're watching, just know I love all of you dearly. I love everybody in my yarn group. But these ladies have really stepped in and kind of mothered me. And as Jordan said, that I'm supposed to sit up, so let me sit up. Because she will tell me if I'm going to mother you, I'm going to tell you to sit up. So at this point, I think I'm just rambling along. It's been both a good and a bad week for me. I hope that y'all have had a great week, and I hope you continue to have a great week. And I'm going to do another little knit and chat probably this weekend. I'm thinking about doing it about how yarn acts when you block it, like some things to think about. Wool has memory, cotton does not, superwash does not. Those kinds of things, just to talk about what you should expect and how you can combat some of it, and what you should expect as you're wearing it, and how you can get it back to where it needs to be. So there will be a little knit and chat set up this weekend, and I will see you then. We're going to see if my little remote works the first time. If so, I will see you. If not, you'll see me fumble. Thanks. Bye. And it's going to be fumbling. You know what? This tripod was not all that expensive, and it came with this little remote, and this might be you get what you pay for. But let's try it again. And I'll just reach forward.